The Alpha Kings tested her until dawn, never knowing she was already claimed. The Alpha King's secret. The scent of blood hit me before I even opened the door. My hand froze on the brass handle of the Alpha King's private study, my heart hammering against my ribs. I shouldn't be here. The West Wing was forbidden to servants, everyone knew that. But Lady Meredith had sent me with an urgent message, and I was too new to this cursed mansion to know any better. I pushed the door open. What I saw made my blood turn to ice. The Alpha King, Cale Thorne, ruler of the Northern Territories, feared by every wolf pack from here to the Frost Mountains, stood in the center of the room. His shirt was gone, revealing a body carved from marble and violence. But it wasn't his bare chest that made me gasp. It was the black veins crawling up his arms like poisoned roots. They pulsed with dark energy, spreading across his skin like living shadows. His eyes, normally steel gray, burned with an unnatural crimson glow. He turned toward me, and I saw something flicker across his face. Surprise. Then fury. You shouldn't be here. His voice was a growl that vibrated through my bones. I stumbled backward, the message Lady Meredith had given me forgotten. I'm sorry, Your Majesty. I was told to deliver. Get out. The command was laced with alpha dominance so powerful it drove me to my knees. My wolf whimpered inside me, torn between submission and the strange pull I felt toward him. A pull that had been there since the moment I'd arrived at Thornwood Manor 3 days ago. But I couldn't look away from those black veins. From the way his hands trembled as he gripped the edge of his desk. You're hurt, I whispered, and I don't know what possessed me to say it. His laugh was bitter, dangerous. Hurt? Is that what you think this is? He moved faster than any wolf should be able to move. One moment he was across the room, the next, his hand was wrapped around my throat, not choking, but holding me in place as he leaned down until our faces were inches apart. What you just saw could get you killed, little wolf. Do you understand that? I should have been terrified. Every instinct should have been screaming at me to run. But instead, I felt something else, recognition. The same darkness I saw in him lived inside me too. Hidden. Suppressed. Denied. I understand secrets, Your Majesty, I said, meeting his crimson gaze. I understand monsters. Something shifted in his expression. His grip on my throat loosened, and his thumb brushed against my racing pulse. What's your name? Sarah. Sarah Ashford. Well, Sarah Ashford, you just became either the luckiest or the unluckiest woman in this territory. He released me and turned away, the black veins slowly receding beneath his skin. You'll tell no one what you saw here. Not Lady Meredith. Not the other servants. No one. And if I do? He glanced back at me, and the look in his eyes made my stomach flip. Then I'll have to kill you myself. And I really don't want to do that. The way he said it, like he actually meant the last part, sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with fear. Welcome to Crownfire Tales, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The curse revealed. I should have left. Should have run from Thornwood Manor and never looked back. But something kept me there, some invisible thread that seemed to bind me to the Alpha King and his terrible secret. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing those black veins, that crimson glow. I'd heard stories about dark magic, about wolves who'd made bargains with ancient powers. But those were just stories. Weren't they? I found myself wandering the halls of the mansion, drawn to the West Wing like a moth to flame. The other servants had warned me, strange sounds came from there at night. Screams. Crashes. Once, someone swore they'd seen the Alpha King covered in blood, though whose blood it was remained a mystery. I turned a corner and nearly collided with someone. Careful, little mouse. I looked up into the face of a man who could have been Cale's twin, same sharp features, same commanding presence. But his eyes were warmer, amber instead of gray, and his smile was genuine. You're new, he said. Let me guess, Sarah Ashford? The girl who walked into my brother's study today? My face flushed. Word travels fast. In this house? Always. He extended a hand. I'm Demon Thorn. The better-looking brother. I shook his hand, surprised by the warmth in his grip. I didn't know the Alpha King had a brother. Most don't. I prefer to stay out of the spotlight. His smile faded. Especially now, with everything that's happening. What is happening? The question tumbled out before I could stop it. Demon's expression grew serious. He glanced around, then pulled me into an alcove. My brother is cursed. 3 months ago, he was attacked by a witch from the Shadow Coven. She infected him with dark magic, a corruption that's slowly consuming him from the inside out. My hand flew to my mouth. That's why his eyes turn red? Why black veins spread across his skin? Demon nodded grimly. The curse is feeding on his alpha power, growing stronger every day. If we don't find a cure soon. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Why doesn't anyone know? Why keep it secret? Because if the other packs discover that our Alpha King is weakening, they'll attack. The Northern Territories will descend into chaos. Demon's jaw clenched. Kale would rather die than let that happen. He's been pushing everyone away, trying to handle this alone. Including you, I thought, seeing the pain in Demon's eyes. There has to be something we can do, I said. Some way to help him. Demon studied me for a long moment. Why do you care? You just met him today. I didn't have an answer. Or rather, I did, but it was one I couldn't explain even to myself. The pull I felt toward Kale was irrational, impossible. Yet it was there, undeniable as gravity. I just do, I finally said. Something flickered in Demon's expression, hope, maybe. Or calculation. There might be a way. But it's dangerous. And it would require you to get close to my brother. Very close. Before I could ask what he meant, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Demon pressed a finger to his lips and pulled me deeper into the shadows. Lady Meredith swept past, her silver hair gleaming in the moonlight. But she wasn't alone. A figure in a dark cloak walked beside her, their face hidden. The Alpha King grows weaker by the day, Lady Meredith's voice was cold, satisfied. Soon, he'll be too corrupted to rule. That's when we make our move. My blood ran cold. And the girl? The cloaked figure asked. Their voice was wrong, layered, like multiple people speaking at once. The one who saw him today? A servant. Nothing more. She'll be dealt with if she becomes a problem. They disappeared around a corner, and I felt Demon's hand tighten on my shoulder. Lady Meredith, I breathed. She's working with someone. They want Kale to die. Not just die, Demon said darkly. They want him to transform completely. To become a monster that has to be put down, so they can claim the throne appears just. We have to warn him. He won't believe us. Not without proof. Demon turned to me, his eyes intense. But you could get close to him. Find out who else is involved in this conspiracy. How? He barely tolerates my existence. Demon's smile was grim. Because of what you saw today, my brother is going to keep you close. Very close. He can't risk you telling anyone about his condition. He paused. Use that. Gain his trust. Help me save him before it's too late. I should have said no. Should have packed my bags and run as far from this cursed place as possible. But when I thought of those crimson eyes, of the pain and rage I'd seen in Kale's face, I found myself nodding. I'll do it. The forbidden bond. The next morning, I was summoned to the Alpha King's chambers. My hands shook as I climbed the stairs to the tower where Kale's private rooms were located. 2 guards stood outside his door, their faces expressionless as they let me pass. Kale stood by the window, silhouetted against the morning light. He'd changed into formal attire, a black coat embroidered with silver thread, fitted trousers, boots polished to a shine. He looked every inch the powerful Alpha King. Until he turned, and I saw the exhaustion in his eyes. "Close the door," he said. I obeyed, my heart racing. "I've thought about our situation," he continued, moving toward me with predatory grace. "And I've reached a conclusion. You're a liability, one I can't afford to eliminate but can't trust to keep silent. So what are you going to do?" My voice was steadier than I felt. "Keep you close. Very close." He stopped in front of me, and I had to tilt my head back to meet his gaze. "As of today, you're no longer a servant. You're my personal attendant. You'll stay in the room next to mine. You'll accompany me everywhere. And you'll speak to no one about what you saw yesterday. You're making me a prisoner. I'm keeping you alive." His hand rose, and I thought he might touch me, but he stopped just short. "There are people in this mansion who would kill you for what you know. As long as you're under my protection, they can't touch you." Lady Meredith. The cloaked figure. He didn't know about their conspiracy, but he knew there were threats. "And what if I refuse?" "You won't." His smile was wolfish. "I can smell your curiosity, Sarah. Your fascination. You want to understand what's happening to me just as much as you want to survive." He was right, damn him. "One condition," I said, surprising both of us. "You let me help you. Let me research the curse, find a cure." Kale's expression hardened. "There is no cure. You don't know that. Maybe the witch who cursed you is dead." The words were final, cold. "I killed her myself. And with her death, any chance of reversing this curse died too. Then we find another way. There are books, scholars, other witches." "Enough." Alpha command bled into his voice, and my wolf immediately submitted. But I held his gaze, refusing to back down completely. After a long moment, something that might have been respect flickered in his eyes. "You're either very brave or very stupid, little wolf." "Both, probably." That earned me a real smile, brief, but genuine. "Fine. Research if you must. But you do it under my supervision. And if I tell you to stop, you stop. Understood?" I nodded. "Good. Now, there's something else you should know." He moved back to the window, his shoulders tense. "The curse doesn't just corrupt my body. It's changing my mind too. Making me more violent, more volatile. There will be days when the monster takes over completely." He glanced back at me. "On those days, you stay away from me. No matter what. I'm not afraid of you. You should be." The crimson began to bleed into his eyes. "Because when the curse takes hold, I won't be able to tell friend from foe. And I will hurt you, Sarah. Even if I don't want to." The vulnerability in those words, the admission that he didn't want to hurt me, made my chest ache. "Then I'll just have to make sure you remember who I am," I said softly. Kale stared at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. Then, slowly, he crossed the room and did something completely unexpected. He cupped my face in his hands. His touch was gentle, reverent, at odds with everything I knew about the feared Alpha King. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I felt the spark of electricity between us intensify until it was almost painful. "Why aren't you running from me?" he whispered. "Because I see myself in you," I wanted to say. "Because I know what it's like to hide darkness inside. Because for the first time in my life, I don't feel alone." But instead, I simply said, "Because you need me." Something broke in his expression. For just a moment, the Alpha King disappeared, and I saw the man beneath, lonely, desperate, terrified of becoming the monster everyone feared. Then the moment shattered. Kale's eyes went wide. His hands fell away from my face as he stumbled backward, those black veins erupting across his skin like wildfire. The crimson in his eyes blazed bright. Get out, he gasped. Sarah, get out now. But I didn't move. Because I'd made a choice the moment I'd agreed to stay. I was going to save Cale Thorne. Even if it killed us both. Forbidden romance and secrets. The first transformation. I should have run. Every survival instinct I possessed screamed at me to flee as Cale's body convulsed, the curse taking hold. But I stayed frozen, watching as the man I'd just begun to understand disappeared beneath a wave of dark magic. The transformation was horrifying and beautiful in equal measure. Black veins spread across every inch of exposed skin, pulsing with malevolent energy. His muscles expanded, bones cracking and reforming. Claws extended from his fingers, longer and sharper than any wolf's. When he finally looked at me again, there was no recognition in those burning crimson eyes. Only hunger. Cale, I whispered, taking a step toward him instead of away. I know you're still in there. Fight it. He snarled, a sound that was more monster than man. In a blur of motion, he closed the distance between us and slammed me against the wall. His clawed hand wrapped around my throat, not tight enough to choke, but the threat was clear. Cale, please. His other hand came up, tracing the line of my jaw with terrifying gentleness. The contrast between his obvious violence and that almost tender touch made my breath catch. You smell like moonlight, he growled, his voice distorted. Like salvation I don't deserve. Then his lips crashed against mine. The kiss was brutal, claiming, desperate. It tasted of darkness and longing, of a man drowning and reaching for anything to save him. I should have been terrified. Should have fought him off. Instead, I kissed him back. My hands found his face, cupping his jaw as I poured everything I felt into that kiss, the inexplicable connection between us, the determination to save him, the crazy, impossible pull that had existed from the moment our eyes first met. Slowly, impossibly, I felt the tension leave his body. The kiss gentled. His grip on my throat loosened until his hand was simply cradling my neck. When he finally pulled back, his eyes had returned to their normal steel gray. Sarah. My name was a broken prayer on his lips. How did you? I told you, I said, my voice shaky but firm. You just needed to remember who I am. He stared at me like I'd performed some kind of miracle. No one's ever brought me back before. When the curse takes hold, I'm lost for hours. Sometimes days. His thumb brushed across my lips, still swollen from our kiss. What are you? Just a girl who's too stubborn to give up on you. Stubborn or suicidal, he muttered, but there was warmth in his voice now. Affection, even. Dangerous truths. Then reality crashed back. You need to leave, he said, stepping away from me. Before it happens again. I can feel it building, another wave. Next time, I might not be able to stop. Then we find a way to prevent the next time. I straightened my dress, trying to ignore the way my lips still tingled from his kiss. Demon told me there might be a cure. Cale's expression darkened. My brother talks too much. He's worried about you. We all are. We? You've been here 3 days, Sarah. You don't know me well enough to worry. Maybe not. But I know what it's like to be afraid of what's inside you. The confession escaped before I could stop it. I know what it's like to hide who you really are because the truth is too dangerous. Cale went very still. What are you hiding? I'd said too much. But looking into his eyes that held the same darkness and fear I carried, I found myself wanting to tell him. Wanting to share the secret I'd guarded my entire life. My mother was a witch, I said quietly. She fell in love with a wolf, and I'm the result. A hybrid. Forbidden by both covens and packs. Understanding dawned across Cale's face. That's why you're here. You're running. My mother's coven discovered what she'd done. They killed her. My father. I swallowed hard. He rejected me. Said I was an abomination. So yes, I'm running. Had been for 5 years. And you ended up in my mansion, working as a servant. Cale moved closer again, his hand rising to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. That's quite a fall for a hybrid. Better than being dead. Is it? His question was gentle, and far too perceptive. You've been hiding your magic, haven't you? Suppressing your witch side to pass as just another wolf. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Show me, he said suddenly. Show me what you can do. Cale. Please, Sarah. Let me see all of you. The way you saw all of me. There was something in his voice, a longing that matched my own. A desire to be fully known by someone, darkness and all. I took a breath and let my magic rise. It felt like coming home after a long exile. Silver light bloomed around my hands, sparking with power I'd kept locked away for so long. I gestured, and the light danced through the air, forming shapes, a wolf running, a crown, a heart. Cale watched with wonder in his eyes. It's beautiful. It's dangerous. Witch magic and wolf blood shouldn't exist in the same body. Sometimes it tears me apart from the inside. Like my curse tears me apart. He caught my glowing hands in his. We're both monsters, aren't we? Or we're both just trying to survive. The moment stretched between us, charged with understanding and something deeper. Something that felt dangerously close to fate. Then the door burst open. Demon stood there, his face pale. We have a problem. Lady Meredith just called an emergency council meeting. She's demanding you appear before the pack elders, tonight. Cale's jaw clenched. On what grounds? She's claiming you're unfit to rule. That you've been acting erratically, making dangerous decisions. Demon's eyes flicked to me. And she's using your sudden closeness with a lowly servant as evidence of your compromised judgment. My stomach dropped. How does she know? This mansion has eyes everywhere, Cale said grimly. I should have been more careful. There's more, Demon continued. She's bringing in an observer from the High Council. Someone to assess your fitness as Alpha King. Who? Demon's expression was grave. Marcus Corvain. Cale went deadly still. The witch hunter. The witch hunter's arrival. I'd heard stories about Marcus Corvain. Every hybrid had. He was legendary among both wolves and witches, a man who dedicated his life to hunting down forbidden magic and those who wielded it. A man who'd killed hundreds of hybrids like me. He arrives at sundown, Demon said. If he discovers what Sarah is. He won't. Cale's voice was steel. Because she'll be gone before he gets here. What? No. I stepped forward. You need me. Especially now. I need you alive more than I need you here. Cale turned to his brother. Demon, take her to the eastern border. Get her out of the territory. I'm not leaving you to face this alone, I protested. You don't have a choice. Actually, I do. I lifted my chin. You said I was under your protection. That means you don't get to make decisions for me. Something flashed in Cale's eyes, anger, yes, but also admiration. You stubborn, infuriating. If Marcus Corvain is coming, then we use it, I interrupted. Let me help you. My magic might be the key to breaking your curse. Or it might get you killed. I'm already dead if I keep running. I moved closer, placing my hand over his heart. Let me do this. Let me be brave for once in my life. Cale covered my hand with his, and I felt his heartbeat racing beneath my palm. If anything happens to you, then you'll avenge me. I managed a smile. You're good at vengeance, remember? This isn't funny, Sarah. No, it's not. But it's necessary. I looked between him and Demon. Lady Meredith is planning something. I heard her talking about waiting for you to transform completely. If we don't stop her now, She'll use tonight's council meeting to turn everyone against you. Demon nodded slowly. She's right. This could be our only chance to expose the conspiracy. Kale was silent for a long moment, his eyes searching mine. Then, finally, he nodded. Fine. But you stay hidden until I give the signal. And if anything goes wrong? I run. I know. I squeezed his hand. But nothing's going to go wrong. I was wrong. Everything was about to go catastrophically, terribly wrong. Part 3, The Ultimate Power and Revenge. The Council of Wolves. The council chamber was a monument to power and tradition. Ancient stone walls bore the crests of every pack that had sworn fealty to the Thorn bloodline. Torches cast dancing shadows across the faces of the assembled elders, 12 wolves who'd served under Kale's father and now watched his son with barely concealed suspicion. I watched from behind a carved screen, my heart pounding as Kale entered the chamber. He wore his formal armor, black steel etched with silver runes. He looked every inch the Alpha King. But I could see the tension in his shoulders. The way his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides. The curse was building again, and he was fighting to keep it contained. Lady Meredith stood at the center of the chamber, her silver hair swept back, her expression one of false concern. Beside her stood a man I recognized from descriptions, Marcus Corvain. The witch hunter was tall and lean, with cold blue eyes that seemed to see through flesh to the magic beneath. Scars crossed his face and hands, evidence of countless battles with creatures like me. Just looking at him made my wolf whimper and my magic recoil. Alpha King Thorn, Lady Meredith began, her voice dripping with sympathy. Thank you for joining us on such short notice. You called an emergency council, Meredith. I'm here. Kale's voice was level, controlled. State your concerns. My concerns are for you, Your Majesty. And for the stability of our territory. She gestured to the elders. We've all noticed changes in your behavior these past months. Isolation. Violent outbursts. And now, this sudden attachment to a servant girl of unknown origin. Murmurs rippled through the council. My personal affairs are not the council's concern, Kale said, but I heard the edge in his voice. They are when they affect your ability to rule. Lady Meredith's eyes gleamed. Which is why I've invited Marcus Corvain to conduct an assessment. To ensure our Alpha King is fit to lead. Marcus stepped forward, his gaze fixed on Kale with unnerving intensity. Alpha King Thorn. I've heard troubling reports. Tales of you vanishing for hours. Of destruction in the West Wing. Of servants who've disappeared without explanation. He paused. Tell me, have you been cursed? The chamber went deathly silent. Kale's jaw tightened, but he held Marcus's gaze. No. Interesting. Marcus circled him slowly, like a predator assessing prey. Because I sense dark magic in this place. Old magic. The kind that corrupts from within. He stopped directly in front of Kale. The kind that turns alphas into monsters. The trap springs. Enough games, Kale growled, and I heard the alpha command in his voice. If you have accusations, make them plainly. Very well. Marcus's smile was cold. I accuse you of being compromised by dark magic. Of hiding a curse that threatens every wolf in this territory. And I accuse you of harboring a hybrid, a witch-wolf abomination, within these very walls. My blood turned to ice. That's absurd, Kale said, but his eyes flicked to my hiding place for just a fraction of a second. It was enough. Is it? Lady Meredith moved to stand beside Marcus. Then you won't mind if we search the premises. Starting with your private chambers. You overstep your authority, Meredith. I act with the High Council's blessing. She produced a scroll, sealed with the official mark. Marcus has full authority to investigate any threats to pack stability. Including you. The trap had been perfectly laid. If Kale refused, he'd look guilty. If he allowed the search, they'd find evidence of both his curse and my presence. I had to do something. I stepped out from behind the screen. "There's no need to search," I said, my voice carrying across the chamber. "I'm right here." Every eye turned to me. Kale's face went pale. "Sarah, no. I'm the hybrid you're looking for," I continued, walking toward the center of the chamber. "Witch mother, wolf father. Forbidden by both bloodlines." I looked directly at Marcus Corvain. "So if you're here to kill someone, kill me. But leave the Alpha King alone." Marcus studied me with those cold blue eyes. "Brave. Foolish, but brave." He raised his hand, and silver light began to glow around his fingers, witch hunter magic, designed specifically to bind and break magical beings like me. "I've killed dozens of your kind, girl. What makes you think tonight will be different?" "Because she's under my protection." Kale moved to stand beside me, his hand finding mine. "And anyone who touches her answers to me. Even if it costs you your throne?" Lady Meredith's smile was triumphant. "You're admitting to harboring a forbidden hybrid. That's grounds for immediate removal from power." "Then remove me." Kale's voice was steady. "But she walks out of here alive." I squeezed his hand, my heart breaking and soaring at the same time. He was willing to sacrifice everything for me. But I hadn't come this far to let him fall. "There's another option," I said, looking at the assembled elders. "Let me prove that hybrids aren't the monsters you've been taught to fear. Let me show you that my magic can heal, not just harm." "Impossible," Marcus scoffed. "Hybrid magic is unstable, chaotic. Like the curse consuming your Alpha King?" I turned to face him fully. "Yes, I know about it. I've seen the black veins, the crimson eyes. The way the dark magic is eating him alive from the inside out." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Kale's grip on my hand tightened, but he didn't deny it. "And you think your corrupted magic can cure him?" Lady Meredith laughed. "You'll only make it worse. Maybe. Or maybe a hybrid is exactly what he needs." I looked up at Kale. Dark magic and light, witch blood and wolf blood, all existing in one body. That's what I am. And that's what could balance his curse. The ultimate gamble. Understanding dawned in Marcus's eyes. "You're proposing a binding ritual. Linking your hybrid nature to his cursed one." "Yes. That's suicide. The curse will consume you both. Or it will stabilize. Create an equilibrium." I turned to the council. "Give me one chance. If I fail, you can execute us both. But if I succeed, you have to accept that hybrids deserve to live. That we're not all monsters." The elders exchanged uncertain glances. Finally, Elder Thaddeus spoke. "And if you do succeed in curing the Alpha King, what then? What's to stop you from using your combined power against us?" "Nothing," Kale said quietly. "Except my word as Alpha King that I would never harm my own people." "And her word as the woman he stopped, his jaw working. "As the woman you what?" Lady Meredith pressed, sensing weakness. Kale looked down at me, and in his eyes I saw everything he couldn't say. "As the woman I choose. Above throne, above duty, above my own life." My breath caught. It was as close to a declaration of love as an Alpha King could make in front of his council. "This is madness," Lady Meredith hissed. "You would risk everything for a hybrid you've known mere days?" "Yes." Kale's answer was simple, absolute. Marcus Corvain studied us for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "Very well. Perform your ritual. But know this, if it fails, if either of you loses control, I will end you both without hesitation." "Agreed," I said before anyone could protest. Lady Meredith's face twisted with rage. "You're making a mistake. That creature will destroy him, destroy us all." "Enough, Meredith." Elder Thaddeus's voice cut through her protests. "The girl has offered a solution. Let us see if she can deliver. As the council moved back to give us space, Demon appeared at my side. He handed me an ancient book, its pages yellowed with age. I found this in the archives, he murmured. A binding ritual used centuries ago to stabilize cursed bloodlines. It's dangerous, but it might work. I flipped through the pages, my magic recognizing the symbols even as my mind struggled to comprehend them. This requires a blood bond. A permanent one. Like a mating bond? Kale asked. Deeper. I met his eyes. This would tie our very souls together. Your curse would become mine. My magic would become yours. We'd be linked until death. And if one of us dies? The other follows. The chamber fell silent. This wasn't just a cure, it was a commitment more binding than any marriage, any oath. Kale, I whispered. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He cupped my face in his hands. I've been half alive for months, Sarah. Dying by inches. If this gives me a chance to truly live again, to live with you, then I'll take it. Even knowing we might both die tonight? Especially knowing that. His smile was soft, genuine. I'd rather have one honest moment with you than a lifetime of pretending to be something I'm not. I kissed him then, in front of the council, in front of Marcus Corvain, in front of everyone who'd ever told me I was an abomination. And when I pulled back, I let my magic rise. The binding. The ritual was brutal in its simplicity. Blood to blood. Magic to magic. Soul to soul. I carved the symbols into our palms, ancient runes that predated both witch covens and wolf packs. Kale's hand trembled as I worked, the curse fighting against what we were trying to do. Stay with me, I whispered. Just a little longer. His eyes had already begun to shift, crimson bleeding through the gray. The black veins were spreading fast, faster than before. The curse knew what we were attempting and was fighting back with everything it had. I pressed our bleeding palms together and began the incantation. Power exploded between us. It felt like being torn apart and remade simultaneously. Kale's curse rushed into me, cold, hungry, consuming. For a terrifying moment, I felt myself slipping away, becoming lost in its darkness. Then my magic rose to meet it. Light and dark collided. Wolf and witch. Life and death. The two forces warred within our joined hands, neither willing to submit, both threatening to destroy us rather than coexist. Sarah. Kale's voice was strained. It's not working, let go before. No. I poured everything I had into the spell. Every ounce of magic I'd suppressed for 5 years. Every bit of power I'd been too afraid to claim. And something shifted. The curse and my magic stopped fighting. Started dancing. I felt the moment it happened, the impossible equilibrium. The dark magic of Kale's curse wrapped around my light like vines around a tree, supported rather than strangled. My power flowed into his curse, not destroying it but transforming it into something new. Something that belonged to both of us. The black veins on Kale's arms began to fade. Not disappearing completely, but settling beneath his skin like tattoos rather than corruption. His eyes cleared, returning to gray, but now with flecks of silver that matched my magic. When the ritual finally ended, we collapsed together, gasping. The council stared in stunned silence. Marcus Corvain was the first to speak. Impossible. I've never seen. He trailed off, approaching us cautiously. The curse is still there, but it's dormant. Controlled. Balanced, I corrected, my voice hoarse. It will always be part of him. Part of us both now. But it won't consume him anymore. Lady Meredith's face had gone ashen. This changes nothing. They're both corrupted now. They're both alive. Elder Thaddeus stepped forward, his expression thoughtful. And they've proven that hybrid magic can heal rather than harm. That opposing forces can coexist. He looked at the other elders. Perhaps it's time we reconsider our prejudices. One by one, the elders nodded. All except Lady Meredith. You fools, she snarled. You don't understand what you've just allowed. That hybrid has tied herself to our Alpha King. She could control him, manipulate him. The only one who's been manipulating anyone, Demon's voice cut through the chamber, is you, Meredith. He stepped forward, holding a stack of papers. I've been investigating. These are letters between you and the Shadow Coven, the same coven that cursed my brother. You paid them to do it, didn't you? So you could swoop in, claim the throne was unstable, and seize power for yourself. Lady Meredith's mask finally cracked. You have no proof. I have your signature. Your seal. And testimony from the witch who survived my brother's vengeance, the one who confirmed you hired them before he killed her. The chamber erupted in chaos. Cale rose slowly, his hand still gripping mine. When he spoke, his voice carried the full weight of Alpha Command. Lady Meredith. You are hereby stripped of your title and lands. You will be tried for treason. And if found guilty, his eyes, now silver-flecked gray, blazed with cold fury. You will face the punishment you intended for me. Guards moved forward to seize her, but Meredith wasn't finished. She laughed, a wild, broken sound. You think you've won? The Shadow Coven has dozens of witches. Hundreds. They won't stop coming for you. For her. Her eyes fixed on me with pure hatred. You've painted a target on both your backs. And when they come, not even your precious bond will save you. Marcus Corvain stepped forward. Then perhaps, he said quietly, it's time the witch hunters and the wolf packs formed an alliance. To face this threat together. He extended his hand to Cale. What do you say, Alpha King? Shall we end this war between our kinds? Cale looked at me. I nodded. He shook Marcus's hand. Together, then. New beginnings. 3 days later, I stood on the balcony of Cale's tower, watching the sun rise over the Northern Territories. So much had changed in such a short time. The council had officially recognized hybrid rights. Marcus Corvain had returned to the High Council with a proposal for peace. And Lady Meredith. She would face justice. Final and absolute. Arms wrapped around me from behind. Cale's chin rested on my shoulder, and I felt the steady beat of his heart against my back, no longer racing with the panic of a cursed man, but calm. Strong. Having second thoughts, he murmured. About saving your life and revolutionizing wolf-witch relations? Never. I leaned back into his embrace. Though I might have a few thoughts about becoming the most controversial queen this territory has ever seen. Queen? His voice held a smile. I don't recall proposing. You tied your soul to mine for eternity. That's basically a proposal. Fair point. He turned me to face him, his eyes, gray and silver now, a perfect blend of who we both were, serious despite his smile. But I want to do it properly. When you're ready. No curses, no councils, no witch hunters. Just you and me. I like the sound of that. He kissed me, slow and sweet and full of promise. When we finally parted, he touched his forehead to mine. Thank you, he whispered. For seeing past the monster. For believing I could be saved. You were never a monster, Cale. Just a man who needed to be reminded he didn't have to fight alone. Well, I'm not alone anymore. His smile turned wicked. I'm permanently bonded to the most stubborn, powerful, impossible woman in the world. You're welcome. We stood together as the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Somewhere out there, the Shadow Coven plotted. Other territories would challenge our new alliance. The road ahead was long and dangerous. But we would face it together. Two souls, bound by blood and magic, darkness and light. Forever.